Hi, folks. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Brand Life Coaches. It's been a little while since I've been in touch. Um, I don't know it with you guys, but it seems like the holidays has a way of just sort of consuming your life from about Thanksgiving until just past New Year's. So I've often said that the recovery process, you have to have a lot of discipline and focus. For most of us, recovering from complex PTSD, we have to have the discipline of somebody who's training to try to make an Olympic team. That sounds extreme, but I do think it's true. If you're going to thrive, if you're going to be somebody who overcomes um, complex PTSD symptoms and flashbacks and depression and not being able to trust people, and all the symptoms, and to really be happy and to sort of dig yourself out of a hole financially and to take care of your body. You're going to need to have a lot of discipline. And my discipline, like a lot of people's, tends to sort of lag during the holidays. So I'm hearing the theme to Rocky in uh, uh, the back of my head, and I'm uh, dieting and exercising, and one of the things I wanted to do was pay attention to inspiration and have a voice more in videos, because I know these videos reach people, and I know these videos, when they're truly inspired, change people's lives. My daughter, Jordan, who's 23, who just got her master's degree in social work, is a huge Ruth Bader Ginsberg fan. Most of you know who that is, but she's been a member of the Supreme Court since about 1997. Uh, she's in her 80s now. She leans pretty strongly to the left, but she's been the subject of two recent movies. One is RBG, which was more of a study of her life, more of a documentary, if you will. Very interesting. And then there's been a recent movie called On the Basis of Sex, which was just your regular movie, but about parts of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life. I never know when I'm in a movie theater. Most of the time, I'm just entertained, but sometimes something just touches me deeply and profoundly, and I start to cry. And this was one of those movies, when it got done, I couldn't hardly get out of my seat. I was just sort of stunned with awareness and insight that I didn't really see coming. So uh, let me set the scene for you. Uh, this was, um, I believe that this main scene in the movie, I believe, was in the 70s, and it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg arguing before the Denver highest court of appeals, which is ironic because that's where my daughter Jordan lives. Um, so that's fitting. Um, the case was, a man was being discriminated against. He was the caretaker for his mother, and the law said that the only way you can count off on your taxes any kind of help, professional help, like a professional nurse or some kind of caregiver, you could count that off your taxes back in the 70s if you were a woman, because of course a woman's job is to be a caretaker, but you couldn't count it off your taxes if you were a man. And Ginsberg took the case to strike a blow against any kind of prejudice based on gender. So this isn't a political video. I'm getting to my point. Give me just a little bit of time here. But this was the first time that Ginsberg had stood before a panel of 3 appellate judges who basically were there to shred her case. She not only had to fight the defense, a pretty strong lawyer himself, but she also had to convince the judges. And that was a time coming out of the 50s and the 60s where there was just a great deal of oppression of women, sexism, all sorts of gender inequalities. And so that was the temperature or the weather or the mood of the day. So this video isn't about that. It's about having a voice. So the title of my video is Change Your World with the Power of Your Voice. So in the movie, you only get 30 minutes before the judges, and Ginsberg's husband took the first 15 minutes, and then Ginsberg fumbled around, Ruth Bader Ginsburg fumbled around for 10 minutes and was sort of bullied by the judges, and she said she'd save the rest of her time for rebuttal. The other side got their 30 minutes of arrogance and bullying and ignorance, but then so she was left there with 4 minutes. And whenever you prepare notes, many times you don't speak from your heart. And the reason Ruth Bader Ginsburg has impacted the world and changed laws and changed our country is because she has a brilliant mind, and she can take that mind and formulate words and opinions and write them well, and be compelling and persuade people. So she's down to 4 minutes, and her team's losing. It's 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, and she's got 2 strikes on her. Bases are loaded. She hits a grand slam. The team wins. If she takes a strike, you lose badly. And it sure looked like she was going to lose badly. But somewhere in the midst of her heart and mind bubbled up compelling, powerful, well-chosen killer words with an edge, without any reactivity. And you could just see these judges, these skeptical, sexist, closed-minded judges. You could see the power of Ruth Ginsburg Bader's mind opening them up like a can opener. And 4 minutes later, they had seen Jesus. They had been converted to her way of thinking. And I've experienced that many times in work with my clients, and that is I'll have a couple come into my office, and I can tell both of them are really well defended psychologically. They don't really know anything about their family of origin issues. They're really focused on feeling victimized and criticizing the other person and not really delving into their own stuff. They have no clue that the roots of their issues are based in their family of origin issues. And when you have a persuasive, powerful voice, you can pierce closed minds. And what I love in my work is I can see the enlightenment. I can see the light bulbs going on in people's eyes. I can see a softening. Sometimes on the basketball court, I'll give somebody a fist pump and they'll say, "Respect, brother." And that's what you see in the minds and the eyes and the softened faces and the body language of somebody that you've gained respect. And in my experience and in the movie, the words just came. None of the words that she used in that last 4 minutes were planned. She was just talking from her heart. And she shifted the paradigm of those 3 judges. And then she systematically went through and challenged case after case after case, and she opened up a can of whoop ass and used that persuasive voice to change the laws of the land. But what I'm saying to you is, you may not argue cases before the Supreme Court. I imagine most of you don't. You may not try to influence couples in denial, but there are things in your life that need changed. There are people in your life who need to hear you. We all have things that need change. How about the mind of your spouse? How about your boss? How about a project that needs done, but political forces in your company are shifting toward a project that's BS? How about being heard by your children? There's a good one. How about having a calling to reach the world and have a message that is powerful, that has truth in it? That's what I love about therapy, is you change people's mind, you turn on the light, you speak with passion. There's been many times in my career that either the client has said something or I've said something, and I just have chills up and down my spine and neck. And I'm almost at the point of tears. And I know that I shifted that couple from the brink of divorce to recovery. Recovery is re-engineering your own personality from the ground up, and to stop over focusing on your spouse and to spend your business cleaning up your own side of the street. So the words just come if you have this power in your belly. So I'm going to share some words that this scene in this movie, where in 4 minutes she lit them up. She blew up some dynamite. They could feel the passion of her heart and the edge and crispness of her mind. It was very cool. It was very inspirational. But the words are, if you're able to do that in your own life, be heard by your spouse, be heard by your boss, whoever you need to be heard by. It gives you energy. It gives you momentum. It empowers you. It builds your self-esteem. It helps you to make an impact in the world. It gives you a sense of self-agency. It's David cutting down Goliath. The thing about King David in the Bible, he didn't take on Goliath as a suicide wish. He knew he could beat him because he was pretty good with a slingshot. Um, I've been doing this work for 30 years, and I have this quiet confidence in me that if I get a couple in front of me with even the slightest bit of open-mindedness that they're showing, that eventually those words, those powerful words that make a difference, that wakes somebody up, that causes tears to run down their face, that's especially cool to see somebody's body language and their facial expression, even over Skype. Works just as well on Skype, trust me. And to be able to say the right words that just reaches that wounded inner child and helps them to pour forth the healing that needs to happen. So I know that there are a lot of Goliaths in the world. I know that in order to be successful in this world, you have to be fierce, you have to have courage, but you have to put your energy and your edge and your sense of self and your message into your words. And your words have to be powerful. There's this place in the Bible where it was talking about Jesus in his early ministry, and they said about him, he spoke as if he was somebody who had authority. And when you have this gift, when you have this sense of self, when you understand your issues, when you're not operating from victim mentality, you have an ability to say things that reach in and just grab people by the heart and get your message across. And you can walk into a room and there's 50 people that are thinking no. You can walk out an hour later and there's 50 people shaking your hand and saying yeah. So anyway, that moved me to see Ginsberg in this scene. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't get reactive. She had tears moistening her eyes, but mostly she had a fierce commitment to things that are true. She had a fierce commitment to her message. So this is my wish for you, that you would continue to work on your own sense of recovery. Many of you are codependents. Many of you have been in relationships with narcissists. If you're getting your butt kicked by a narcissist, it's not about the narcissist, dude. It's about your lack of power. And many times your power is located in your feet. And you can walk away if you have that fire in your belly. Another good scene that comes to me, and I don't know if many of you women have seen this movie, but Braveheart, where the character Mel Gibson played, he shows up and his army, they were pooping their pants. They saw what was aligned against them and they knew they were going to die. And he shows up with scary face painted on his face. He's riding a horse and he's got fire in his eyes. And he believed that they could win. He believed that they had the energy for David to cut down Goliath. And he imparted that energy to the crowd, and rather than running, they ran to battle, and they did win. So another example of this, I was watching Tom Brady in the AFC Championship, and there's 2 minutes left, and his team is down. It's overtime, and his team has the ball, and this man has fire in his eyes, and he believes in himself, And he always brings his team back. I had no doubt in my mind when he got the ball in overtime, he was going to drive it down, stick it in the end zone. It's about those words that I shared. It's about having energy, having self-esteem, having momentum, being empowered, making an impact, and having agency in the world. So that's what I had to share with you today. Change your world with the power of your voice, and let the voice come from your heart and from your belly, and share what you know, and punch the world in the face, with your heart, with your words, without being reactive. Tomorrow night, we have a live stream show. I say 8 o'clock. It's on mark time, so it might be 8:15-ish, 8:20-ish. But I'm going to do the show. My wife is actually, she's got, she had a sister who passed away, and she's got another sister who's not in good health. So she's down in Alabama visiting her sister. So you're left with me, and all you have to do is come to our YouTube channel or subscribe to it, and you'll be notified as soon as we show up for the live show. Boom, there'll be a message, hey, Mark's doing a live stream. And you show up, and you can message in and talk with, there's usually about 75, 100 regulars that sort of come and go with the show. But it's a wonderful community, and we're gonna have church for the narcissistically abused, we call it. Remember, I've got some really good books. One is on abandonment issues, one is on shame, one is on overcoming affairs. You can get that at familytreecounseling.com. So go see the movie. And don't view it as a political movie. View it as a movie about having the power in your voice, in your heart, in your belief system, in your values to change the world. Most of us aren't charged with changing the culture. We're just in charge of our own lives. But it's a full-time job, and the world, our world, your world, is filled with Goliaths who want to take duct tape and tape it over our mouths and keep us quiet and control us and keep us in a world and in a life that doesn't work for us. So change your world with the power of your voice, the power of your voice. Thank you for joining me today, and God bless.